My name's Nick and I'm the vicar here at St John's in the Fields Church, which is at the top of St Ives. It's actually the parish church of Holstown Village, which is a village about a mile in that direction. But they built the church in the fields outside the village, and then the town of St Ives has grown up and now surrounds the parish church building. And I'm here to talk a bit about our current fundraising appeal, which is for restoring some of the fabric of the building. Yeah, so what we'd really be hoping to do in the building, so that one of the big things that we need to do is to replace the roof. So we've just had it patched again, and the guys that were up there were very keen to tell us that this roof is on its last legs. The slates are sort of crumbling in their hands and need replacing. So that's a big job that needs doing so that we can make the building watertight, and at the moment you can see that there is evidence of water ingress, so you've got peeling paint and plaster up there, and at the back you can see that coming in, and so that's a vital thing that we need to do to secure the future of this piece of heritage. It's also, you can see, starting to impact some of the interesting historic features. So we have this very unusual tin frieze that runs all the way around the building, which has been beautifully decorated with patterns and Bible verses, encouraging scriptures, words of comfort. And so that's something as well that we want to preserve, repaint, but then make sure that the building is dry so that that stays in a good state. We hope to recarpet and redecorate and just generally make this a space that is more inviting to come into, and a place where people can enjoy both the open space, but also interact with some of the heritage in the building. Another thing that would really transform the space is to upgrade the heating system, which at the moment is it's like a dual domestic radiator system, and it's slightly under-spec'd for the building. And we'd love to be able to get a more eco-friendly and effective way of heating the building, perhaps using heat pumps, ground source heat, that kind of thing. So we'd love to do that if we were able to. As we think about why this is a project that we think is worth supporting, I think there are two main reasons. One is that this is a really important piece of the heritage of St Ives and the local area. And it's quite a nice piece of heritage because unlike, say, the parish church downtown, which we also look after, which is right in the historic heart of the town, this is sort of just up among the housing estates of St Ives, and it's an unusually old building to have just kind of landed in the middle of that. But I think that makes it quite special because it's almost as if a piece of the history of St Ives is in the middle of where now the local population live. And so it's something that I think the local community are quite proud of, and that has a real place and is a focus for the resident population of St Ives these days. So it's a really interesting piece of heritage in its own right as well. So it's got its own story about how it came to be here. The man who, John Hulse, who was behind the building of both Hulse Town and the church, is an interesting character. And so there's lots of entertaining and interesting stories about its origins, but also some really impressive artists and architects of the time were involved in designing the building, doing the stained glass windows and the tin frieze, which I've talked about as well. So there's some hugely important and interesting heritage to the building that is really worth preserving in its own right and its place in the community, as I've mentioned. So the other reason that we think this is a project worth supporting is that this is not just an historic building, and we don't want it to be preserved simply because it contains history from the past, but this is also a living building that has a use in the present. And actually, over the last few years, we've seen the building filling up through the week, both with activities that the church and the church community is running, Sunday services, of course, but also activities through the week that are for the wider community, like our toddler group, our group that supports young mums who are often first-time mothers, our group on a Wednesday that supports isolated members of the local community, but also partnering with other groups within the local community. So Kavrana, who run our Wednesday morning sessions, sharing crafts and skills with whoever wants to drop in and be part of that.
This is Kavrana Club and we're at St John's in the Field Church Hall. So we've been running for about 5 years. So it's basically a Skillshare. We do loads of different things in here. Today we are doing Alice in Wonderland theme. So we've been offered to do a telephone box at the top of town. So we're going to be doing cards and loads of things like that. So it's really good fun. We do singing sometimes. We also have bands sometimes. Any kind of craft anyone has a skill in, they can come and they can share it with people. So yes, we do loads of different things. We have food that has been saved from landfill, which people pick up from the local shops, co-ops, Tesco's, Marks and Spencer's. So that is brought here as well, so people can come and collect that. We also have food provided for our dinner. So we have a fresh soup, homemade soup and homemade cakes, fresh fruit, bread, cheeses. So we have that every Wednesday as well. This is the church hall, so they very kindly let us use this space. The church also has the funding for our food as well. So the church is a big part of getting us to all eat together as a community, which is really important. At Christmas time, we have meals in the church as well. So we have our Christmas food in there. We also do a free-for-all, so people can bring all their stuff and then everyone's welcome to go in there and collect things from there as well. So yeah, we're kind of quite integrated. We've also started up a small singing group. So when it's a bit warmer, I think we'll go back in the church as well, but we're using their other little building. Oh, okay, if the church wasn't here, then I don't know how this club would be able to run, to be fair. We're getting busier and busier, so this is a perfect space for this. It's also quite convenient with the parking, so that we're allowed to use the church parking. It's this side of town, which means it's so much more accessible. If we didn't have this, then I don't know where we'd go. I think it would probably stop.
And various other local organisations have been and continue to use this building, so much so that we've been designated a community hub by the council in recognition of the services that we're providing and facilitating. And that's something that we really want to continue and to build on. But securing the building itself, making sure that it's watertight, weatherproof, nicely decorated, is a nice space to come into, is really important. And then those two things interact as well. So I think the fact that it is part of the history of the town, it means that as people come in, as the community come in and through the building, it gives them an opportunity, a natural opportunity to interact with the heritage of the town. And so that's one of the reasons why, as part of the project to preserve the fabric, we also want to draw attention to the heritage, and so we're planning to create different ways of interacting with the historic fabric and some of the stories surrounding the history of the building. So we'll do that through things like QR codes and videos, which will be acted, through to information points around the building, and trying to preserve and showcase the different bits of history that we have within the building. So we really hope that you might be willing to partner with us in making this vision for our future a possibility.